Well, hello guys, welcome to the new video, and this right here is the facelifted Sangyong or KGM Korando named K35. So this car is a competitor to the such cars like Skoda Karoq, Kia Sportage, and they actually compare themselves to Kia Sportage in one aspect, and that is the noise. That it's quieter at idle than the Kia Sportage. The Kia Sportage is like 45.6 decibels. This one is like 44 decibels. So it is a quieter car, right? And the best thing about the Korando is that it's affordable. It costs in this Style Plus, which is the third grade specification, it costs 27,560 euros, which is much less than you would pay for the similarly spec'd Kia Sportage. For that, you would pay above 30,000 euros. So great value, this car. But is it all good? Well, let's find out and let's talk about the walk around of the car. Let's go around the car. So we have these LED lights, which is nice. You have this easy signature during the day. But the aerodynamics, which is always important in my videos, is not quite so good. It has a drag coefficient of 0.36, which is rather high, and it makes the car to be rather inefficient in terms of fuel consumption. So let me talk you through what are the aerodynamic elements that are missing on this car. So the first one is the active flaps in front of the radiator. Nowadays the cars, they tend to have them. This car doesn't have them. Then we have still quite a big frontal area, and also the bonnet is not quite swooping down as in other cars. Then what we are missing is the air curtain here on the side, which leads the air around the front wheels. We do not have that. We have the fog lights in here. The aerodynamic element which we do have is this fin, this plastic fin, plastic fin in front of the front wheels, cleaning the airflow around the tires. So at least one plus that we have, which is all right. Then as we go along, we have quite a big attack angle of the front windshield. It is also very slightly curved, but could have more curvature if you wanted to have it more aerodynamically efficient. And one other thing maybe that I noticed that I like is this curvature here in the bonnet, which cleans the airflow around the wipers. So that's nice. Yeah, and now that I'm here by the wheels, let me talk you through the wheels. So we have this optional black 19-inch wheels with a tire of 235 50 R19. So very typical size in this segment, actually. We don't have some sporty tires. We have some Kumho Grugan HP71. Decent grip, but you can get better tires for this car. And now, the car is running quite a big amount of positive caster geometry, which is important for the behavior of the car during cornering, so that it leans onto the outer rear wheel. And also that it is done to the weight distribution of the car. So yeah, we have a McPherson front suspension. Then we have 2.67 meter wheelbase, and the conception is such that you are sitting somewhere just behind the middle of the wheelbase. So could be better, but it's actually quite all right. But could be better, right? And then here is the side profile of the aerodynamic. So as you can see, big attack angle on the front windshield. Then it's not as curved as some other cars. It's sort of flat, and we do have this prolonging roof spoiler at the rear, but it could be tilted more down, in my opinion. And also this side spoiler could be, in other cars, it's much bigger. It's like this. Here is just this small fin. So maybe my advice for the future generation is to make it bigger and more tilted inwards, right? And also another aerodynamic design part is the canopy of the car. In other cars, it is slightly curved in this direction. Here, it's sort of flat. So another thing that could be improved, and that is the reason why the car is such inefficient on itself. Now, back to the suspension. So we need to talk about the wheel geometry. This car is running much more negative camber at the rear axle compared to the front, and we are also running quite a noticeable toe out. And this is needed for the stability of the rear during cornering. And this car, as they compare it themselves with the Kia Sportage, this car drives much better than the Kia Sportage, which is a good thing. So if you're looking for a similar car to the Kia Sportage, this is better driving. And then we are coming to the rear. We have this new LED technology of the lights with the typical signature as it was before. We have again the Korando badge. Also, the novelty was that it is at the front, the Korando logo, and yeah, that's about it. Let's also have a look into the boot as well. So the boot is nice with a wide opening. Uh, the capacity is 551 liters up to 1248 liters of capacity. It doesn't quite look 550 liters now because you have double floor. There is quite a deep amount of double floor, and you also have this practical solution, so you can put it into two parts. So that's actually really practical. I do quite like it. Other than that, you have two hooks. You have these points that you can put some things onto. You have a 12-volt socket, strong normal light, and also this shade. I think reasonably practical boot for the class. In this case, it's manually controlled, but you can have it electronically controlled as well. Now we're going to the left side of the car. Here is the fuel tank. I'm going to put the capacity of it somewhere here in the video. And now let me show you how it looks sitting at the rear. So the Korando is a really practical family car. Look at the space in the rear. I have the seat in my driver's position. I have decent amount of space for my knees, decent amount of space for my head, for my feet as well. And also in terms of width, it is really nice. In terms of comfort, we have a dedicated space in the door bin for the bottle, another space next to it, another space here in the door handle, two speakers, electric windows. They are not automatic. You have to hold them to close them or open them. And then in the central panel, we have the domestic socket, which is very unusual. So 220-volt socket, which you turn on from the driver's position, and a strong LED light. That's about it. What we are missing is any sort of ventilation here in the central console, and also a foldable armrest. But it's still a really nice and practical car. And also look at this wide opening. So it is very easy to get in and out of. We also get the ISOFIX anchor points in there, right? Yeah. And now let me talk you through the conception of the car. So as I said, you could be seated slightly even the rearward, but it is decent. So you're sitting just somewhere just behind the middle of the wheelbase. Okay, so let's now talk about the engine as the last part and the business end of the car. So you just open it very easily. Here in the middle, you have the lever. So what we have here, of course, is the typical KGM engine. It's a petrol engine, 1.5 liter GDI turbo engine. So it is producing 163 horsepower, available between 5 and 5,500 RPM, 280 Newton meters of torque, available between 1,500 and 4,000 RPM. We have a compression ratio which is low at 9.5 to 1. And that sort of tells you that also the engine is not going to be quite the most efficient, for example, like the Mazda petrol engines with a really high compression ratio, although those are naturally aspirated, right? In terms of bore and stroke, it is 78 times 82.5 millimeters. And this engine can be mated either to the 6-speed automatic transmission, which is an optional extra, as it is in this case, it is the IC transmission of the third generation, or which is the one I would take, is the 6-speed manual gearbox. And the reason I would take it is, as this car is quite inefficient, as we are talking now in the Walkaround, with the manual transmission, we are always capable of doing 1 liter better consumption than with the automatic transmission, from my experience. So that's the reason why I would take it. In terms of the engine bay, it is nice and clean in here. It seems that the mechanic is going to have really good access to everything, so really well thought through. You even have this heat shield on the battery, and all of these stickers that tell you here about the battery, that tell you how to control the oil in the car, when it is ideal and stuff. So really practical. The engine is lying slightly in front of the front axle. So yeah, and one other thing that maybe is supposed to be mentioned in the SsangYong, as this is an off-road brand, is the approach angle of 18 degrees and the departure angle at the rear of 24.5 degrees. And you can have this car either with the front wheel drive, which is this case, or the four wheel drive, which is again optional for 1890 euros in my country. And with this engine, 0 to 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers in 10.8 seconds, and a top speed of 188. WTP says with this engine and two-wheel drive, average fuel consumption of 8.1 liters. And now let's find out about the experience of the car and the everyday efficiency by sitting inside the car and driving it further down the road and talking about the experience with the KGM Korando facelift. Oh, well, welcome inside the facelifted KGM or KGM Korando K35, well, for this model year. And first, let's talk about the interior. And I have to say, I really do like this interior because of the color. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I like this white color. I like these white textile seats. They are really, really nice. I think it's not optional, this thing, or is it? Let me see. No, it is not optional, and yeah, I really like it. It gives it light, it looks roomy and stuff. And now let's talk about the interior itself. So I have to say it's contemporary looking interior. It's really practical to use, and it's also, yeah, it's really quite nice in terms of build quality. Yes, you do have these cheaper plastics over here and there, but overall it looks good. Also, the materials here on the dashboard is nice and squishy plastic. Here it's sort of a little bit harder, but nice to touch still. Yeah, a lot of gloss black finish over here. And I remember when I tested first this car back in 2019, I think there was some ambient lighting behind this part of the trim. Yeah, so anyway, let me start up the car. You start it up down here, nearby the wireless charger. And so what do we have here? So this car is particularly good because it is affordable. This car costs, in this Style Plus equipment, it costs only 27,560 euros in my country, which is really, really great. And you have I only have this package here as optional extras. So tech packet, black packet, we have black wheels and black trim, automatic gearbox that is coming up along with the ACC pack, so all of these safety systems pack, and that's about it. So really, if you compare it with other cars of this size, it is really, really affordable, the KGM Korando, right? And they also compare themselves with the Kia Sportage, which is supposed to be an affordable car, but it costs in a very near equipment level 31,000. So this is quite a bit more affordable than the Kia. So that's great. Back to the interior. So we have a very typical multimedia screen, which is only for the multimedia. You only have the navigation in here, which works really quite okay. There is a slight delay in it, but it's okay. And then you have the multimedia in terms of the radio, which I'm going to turn off, or the Bluetooth, and you get the wired Apple CarPlay, not wireless as in other cars, which is maybe a small minus, but doesn't matter to me that much. Yeah, other than the interior, you have this nice heated steering wheel. You control everything, all of the settings of the car here on the steering wheel. More to that soon. Then here in the central panel you have still the hardware controls for the air conditioning, which is nice and looks like from an Audi, this hardware control unit. You have heated seats, wireless charging, 12-volt socket down there, one USB-A connector. Then you have this big gear shifter, and alongside that you have the start and stop to turn off. You have the hill descent control and the traction system to limit the traction control. And then you also have this rotating knob, which have free mode because it's a two-wheel drive car. So you get normal, sport, and winter if you hold it. I was testing this car out in a slight off-road, and during the wheel articulation in the winter mode, it was possible to go up the small hill even with the two-wheel drive, which was actually quite good. The sitting position, it's quite nice. I'm not sitting as low as in other cars, as in, for example, Mazda CX-5, but it's decent. And also I'm sitting decently far from the front wheels, although it could be even better. in this position. And then what I want to talk to you about on the left side, so you have the heated steering wheel. You can adjust you can adjust the brightness of the screens, and you can also turn on or off the domestic socket that you have here in the rear. So you have a domestic socket instead of the USB-C chargers for the passengers. So you have this central screen, and on this screen you set up the car before you drive. So you go here into settings, into driving assistant, and you always need to turn off this intelligent speed recognition, because it is beeping absolutely incredibly on you. So you need to do it manually like this, which is sometimes quite annoying for me, I have to be honest. And then if you want to deactivate the lane assist, you have just this button here, you long press it, and that's it, deactivated. And now we can go and we can start driving. More about the experience with this car. So is it worth to go for the more affordable option, this SsangYong, instead of the Kia or some other competitors in the class? Well, it depends really. If you are ready to pay slightly more on fuel, because this car is slightly less efficient than is the average of the class, and it is down to many reasons. Let's talk about them a little bit. So the first reason is the aerodynamics of the car. So this car could really go together with some better aerodynamics. So we have no active flaps in the front, we have no side spoiler, we don't have a curved canopy of the car, nor the curved roof, nor the curved windscreen as in some other cars. So the aerodynamics, they really play a big part, and on the motorway you feel it. This car is driving for between 9 and 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers of petrol, right? So that is the first thing. Then and the second thing is the engine. It has a compression ratio of 9.5 to 1, so it's not the highest. And nowadays the most efficient engines, I understand that it's a turbo engine, but the bigger the compression ratio, the more efficient the engine is. And it doesn't also have many of the systems like the VW products, like the cylinder deactivation or adaptive auto start and stop system. So yeah, so these two factors play into part that the car is quite inefficient. And in terms of average consumption, we are at around 8.5, 8.6 liters per 100 kilometers. So that's what you should expect from the car. Of course, it is with the 6-speed automatic ICE transmission of the 3rd generation, which, to be quite honest, feels a little bit behind its time nowadays with the dual clutches and stuff. It still does decent RPM on the motorway. I think it was 2500 RPM at 130, which is really okay. But it just has this torque converter feeling, and just isn't the slickest and the fastest, right? So I give you one advice. So if you want to buy this car, buy it with a manual transmission, with a 6-speed manual transmission and 2-wheel drive. You will get at least 1 liter better fuel economy, so 7.6, 7.5, and that is actually doable with this sort of car. So that is actually a decent economy. So I would buy this car definitely with the manual transmission. All right, and then we are coming to the driving of the car. So when you're driving the car normally like this, the car is actually quite stiff, which depends on what you want from a car, but it's good that the car has good body control. Also, thanks to these stiff springs that we have on the car, it will be very well controlled when you put weight onto the car. When you load it up with passengers and with luggage, it still will behave nicely in terms of body control. So it is a good thing. And it also, when you're alone, you can say you have a little bit of a sporty feel maybe from it, but I'm being a little bit, yeah. So yeah, that's quite good. And also, if you're cornering, it behaves nice as well. And it's down to the setup of the suspension. So we are running quite a big amount of positive caster at the front, which is nice. And also the geometry of the wheels is done nicely with a more negative camber at the rear and a big toe out, which should help helps the rear with the grip. Sorry, now it's really wet condition, so I'm having understeer. So yeah, it is sitting quite nicely. There are some critiques to the car. So while there is a good stability on the throttle, when you are braking into the corner or when you just need to go on the brakes, the car suffers from a really twitchy rear on the braking, on the heavy braking. So you really need to look out for that, because it can oversteer, yeah, at that point, and it's quite unreadable maybe a little bit. So yeah, so that's about it. And then another thing, even despite the car behaving quite nicely, leaning onto the outer rear wheel, having good grip, the understeer comes pretty soon. It is better than, for example, with the Kia Sportage, with which I really didn't like the understeer of the car, but it is still reasonably, it is still quite soon. Not quite, it is not delayed as in Mazda CX-5, which is a really good car for driving. So that's just for you what you need to look out for in the driving with this car, right? So yeah, actually really decent, just quite understeery and unstable on the brakes. That's about it. You have a nice steering, but at times, if you're really sensible, you can feel the electric power steering motor just working with the steering wheel. Yeah. So that's about the body control and driving. And in terms of the engine, well, I have to say this engine has 163 horsepower, 280 newton meters of torque, and I have to say, I would actually say that it's quite decent for the car. You know, if you just go down and you need acceleration, look at this, 100, 110. It pulls quite nice, to be honest with you. Yeah. The gearbox is of course slightly delayed, the 6-speed ISIN, but let's do it again. So 4, 3, D, yeah, and you can see, yeah, there is a decent pull really from the engine. So not a bad engine, definitely with the manual transmission. It could feel even better, even more dynamic in your hands. So yeah, really decent. You have this raw sound. It doesn't sound as quiet and as dignified as some other four-cylinder engines, but I mean, it's doable. And yeah, so that's about it. Let me sum up the car. So is the car worth it? Is the KGM Korando a worthy competitor within the class? I have to say it is, if you're ready for some drawbacks. And the main one and maybe the only one, the most important one, is the fuel consumption. So you have to be ready to pay a little bit more on the fuel in order to save in terms of the price of the car. So yeah, that is the disadvantage of the car. But other than that, it's a really nice and practical family car. It has quite a big boot. It has loads of space in the rear. It is quite comfortable. It is really quiet. They really worked hard in the noise, vibrations, and harshness department. So the car is quieter, for example, than the Kia Sportage, which I forgot to tell you. It does on the motorway only 61 decibels, which is really okay. So it is quieter. You have less vibrations than in the Kia. It is just a nice and comfortable car for everyday driving in this aspect. So yeah, I'm gonna rate this car as really quite nice. The only thing you have to be okay with is the fuel consumption, as I said. Other than that, it's really decent, even for the faster driving, if you want to sometimes drive on the mountain pass. So yeah, I think that would be about it to the KGM Korando. Well, and if you found this video useful and liked it, well, keep watching, keep subscribing, because more videos are coming on very soon, and I hope to see you in the very next video. In the meantime, take care of you and goodbye.